Good morning. Welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Wednesday, April the 30th, last day in April. We're here to look at new releases that are published this week, and on Wednesdays we look at romance. Every day of the week we look at a different genre. On Mondays we look at cozy mysteries. Tuesdays we look at crime fiction and thrillers. Wednesday is romance, Thursday is fantasy and science fiction, and Friday is Freeform Friday. We look at things that caught my attention that aren't in those categories, and typically leftovers from Monday because there's always a lot of cozy mysteries. Quick announcements, I don't have any sprints tonight. Our next sprints are tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, Thursday night. We do every Tuesday and Thursday evenings and Saturday afternoons. Let's jump into love. We're starting off with a historical. Everybody's clothed, but the dress is big, so we're okay with it. This is called The King of Whitechapel by Barbara Russell, 7th in the Victorian Outcasts series. Dartmoor, 1891. Nothing exciting ever happens in Elizabeth's life, especially when she stays on her family's estate in Dartmoor. Endless moorland, cold weather, sheep, and only her governess for company. Boring. So when Christopher, a boy she's never met, arrives at her house to stay for a while, she's curious and thrilled. Her parents are clear, though, she mustn't talk to him under any circumstances. Officially, he isn't there. He's confined to a room in the guest wing, never to meet anyone. Elizabeth is supposed to pretend he doesn't exist, so of course she wants to talk to him. Freshly expelled from Eton for a crime he didn't commit, Christopher is the illegitimate son of a duke. He's considered an uncomfortable, embarrassing acquaintance to no respectable lady should ever deal with. But when Elizabeth and Christopher find themselves alone for a few days in a cottage during the country's most powerful snowstorm in centuries, they get close, too close for her parents' liking. Why they call him a boy? He's sent away without the chance to say goodbye to Elizabeth, only to meet her years later when she's his half-brother's bride-to-be. Ah, now I get the boy. Awkward. Maisie Yates has a new one. Good afternoon, Helen. How are you? How's it over there? Down there? The Outsider, 10th in the Four Corners Ranch series. There are two things Bix Carpenter is good at, making moonshine and surviving. However, now that she's officially out of the family bootlegging business, those getting by skills are going to come in handy. But getting caught camping on Four Corners Ranch property isn't the best way to kick off her newfound independence, especially when the man who catches her, unruffled ranch owner Daughtry King, makes an intriguing proposition. Daughtry offers Bix a job in exchange for room and board. The straight-laced cowboy doesn't seem like the type who'd take to her feisty ways, but Bix reluctantly accepts. Daughtry is the best man Bix has ever met, and she's never felt good enough. But she finds herself falling for the stoic cowboy. Can she get past his defenses so the two of them can go from just surviving to thriving? Now, he does have a problem with his shirt. So, points in its favor. The Ruined Duchess by Helena, I'll say Helene Matheson, first in the Scandalous Sisters series. Helen says, good, thanks. Nice, warm, dry today. Isabel Blair has one chance to save her sisters and restore her family's standings among the ton. A marriage a convenience to a dying man. Her husband's strategy for her to conceive a child and produce an heir after his death, however, gives Isabel even fewer chances, especially when she finds herself in the arms of the man responsible for her family's demise. But is she truly trapped if the passion between her and the Duke of Ross is everything she's ever desired? Nashford Harding, Duke of Ross, is determined to right the wrongs of his father. Cuckolding another man, however, is not in his plans, yet he finds himself caught between honor and ecstasy, and something Nash swore he'd never feel. Love. Can he give up the woman who's captured his heart and walk away from the dreams he never knew he had, or will destiny step in and give Isabel and Nash the happily ever after they deserve? Pretty cover. Everybody's clothed. Is she... Okay, he's looking into her eyes, sort of, but kind of more at her forehead. And she's looking at his chin. Must be love. The Ruin of Miss Amelia Burrows by Jenna Jackson. Book 4 in the Matchmaker's Ball. Once again, everybody's clothed. She's looking at somebody over her shoulder. He is looking at her nose. Miss Amelia Burrows was the scandal of the ton in her first season. When her fiancé died, rumors flew and she was declared a ruined woman by society. 10 years later, she's back in London to make an arranged marriage that will hopefully allow her sisters to be received by the ton. But when Nathan, Lord Ainsley, the man she'd really had a tendre for all those years ago, renews their acquaintance, the flame between them rekindles, and Amelia begins to believe that maybe a second chance for love is possible. 10 years ago, Nathan Locke made a terrible mistake in letting himself be hustled off on his grand tour, when what he really wanted was to marry the delightful Miss Burrows. Now he's just learning that the lovely lady isn't married after all, but instead is a pariah of society. Nathan's not about to let that get in the way of his suit, but as new rumors swirl around them, can he ignore the ton's renewed whispers about Amelia's reputation? Together, Nathan and Amelia must get to the bottom of the scandals, new and old, or face a devastating choice: a life together being shunned by society, or a life without each other forever. End of that row. Up Close and Personal by Hannah Holguin. Jo Delacruz should be on top of the world. As one of Spin's hottest instructors, her workouts stream into thousands of living rooms. Her waiting list is harder to access than Area 51, and even her hair has its own social media page. How lovely for you. But Jo's struggling from a decade in the spotlight. Oh, poor girl. Which is when she meets that annoyingly handsome journalist who claims her job is just yelling at people from a bike. He's not wrong. Converting a hater is a challenge Jo can't resist. Only nothing about Silas Anders matches her expectations. He throws himself into her classes. He's genuinely interested in Jo's hobbies. And most surprising of all, he knows what it's like to struggle with mental health. Between all-you-can-eat diner lunches, thrifting adventures, and sizzling summer nights, Jo might even be catching feelings. But as buzz for the article skyrockets, Jo discovers that the man she's been falling for may in fact be the one scamming her. Will trusting him break her heart or lead to a love worth writing for? Paging Doctor Breakup by Jillian David, second in the Yukon Valley, Alaska Hospital series. Good morning, Elena. How you doing? She says, I am good. Good to hear. This Saturday, I'm going to the library. Oh, that's right, the library book sale. It must be like National Library Book Sale. There is a church in my town that does a used book sale, and it's happening this week, ending on Saturday. Widow Deidre Steen has spent the last 5 years making sure she's the best chief nursing officer Yukon Valley Hospital has ever seen. It cost her a personal life and protected her heart, but now her childhood friend, Dr. Calvin Garrett, the one who got away, is temporarily lending his emergency medicine skills to the rural hospital in Alaska's interior. The community's relentless matchmaking network loves a challenge, which leaves Deidre with one viable option: a fake dating pact with Calvin until the spring breakup festival and his inevitable departure to his regular job and his life in Seattle. Calvin moved away years ago rather than watch his best friend marry Deidre. Now, amazingly, she's in Calvin's bed and the center of his world. Yet a woman like Deidre deserves forever, as well as a man who didn't finish as a runner-up the first time around. Oh my God, how lame. Can an Alaskan spring thaw help two wounded healers thaw the ice surrounding their hearts and fulfill the second chance at love? He can't be with her because he was runner-up last time. Hello, ego, doctor. Shocked, I know. Play It Off. Kings of Campus by Monica Murphy, second in the Kings of Campus series. Sienna, I've had a thing for Gavin Maddox ever since I was a freshman, but it's a mission doomed to fail. Of all the guys I could have picked on campus, I had to go too far with the quarterback, my brother's best friend. We've spent the last 2 years avoiding each other. It's not that easy when you have the same friends, not to mention I can't forget the way it felt to be with him. But I can be civil, polite, detached, I think. Gavin. Sienna Cooper is off limits except for that one time. I can't forget it, but I need to forget her if I want to keep my head in the game. This is my senior year and, more importantly, my last chance of college football. I can't let anything distract me. I've respected Sienna's boundaries for this long. I can do it for another year. Can't I? Ms. V's Hot Girl Summer by A.H. Cunningham. Go on, get spicy. For the last 16 years, Trinidad Velasquez has done everything right, raised her twin sons on her own, worked her butt off, and created a stable life. But Trinidad is done waiting for a happy ending to show up at her door, and when her current boyfriend proposes, she can't help but wonder if, at her age, love should be practical, not butterflies and heart-racing chemistry. But when her teenage sons trick her into a Caribbean carnival vacation, and she finds herself staying with the one guy who's always revved her engine, even if he's a decade south of her dating range. Orlando Wiggins has never been able to take his eyes off Ms. V. He's mentored her boys for 2 years, and she's never suggested there could be more. But at Carnival, between the sensual dancing, heated looks, and electric touches, whatever he's been feeling for her is definitely reciprocated. Now Trinidad is having the time of her life. Every cell in her body is charged, alive. But will this new version of who she's become stick around for the return to real life? Fern Michaels has a new one. I did check. This is an anthology, actually, by Fern Michaels, Carolyn Brown, and Laurie Foster. Big names. I don't usually do anthologies, so we won't read them, but Fern Michaels has Sweet as Honey. Laurie Foster has Everything She'd Ever Wanted, and Carolyn Brown has The Memory Cabin. Oh, now this guy has a shirt problem. Standing in the water, looking at something. Maybe it's a bear. Hardly a Gentleman by Eloisa James. Oh, there's a name. Desperate after her season comes to a spectacularly disastrous end, the Honorable Miss Clara Vetri jumps into a carriage hired to take a housekeeper to Scotland. The Laird of Castle Carlaven has no interest in a wife, especially a love match, but when Caelan sees his new housekeeper, he changes his mind. Marriage to a delectable bookworm strikes him as a perfect arrangement. To his surprise, Clara refuses his proposal once and again, yet again. When her true identity is revealed and they're forced to marry, Caelan realizes he has a far more crucial challenge. He finally has Clara's hand, but how will he ever win her heart? And this cover could be any time period. Yet he has no shirt, so we appreciate it. Hazards to a Duke's Heart by Sabrina Jeffries. Another name. First in the Lords of Hazard series. Napoleon's War has ended, and English captives detained for years in a French fortress are finally released. Returning to a London he no longer recognizes and facing astonishing changes in his own family, Jonathan Layton learns he has inherited a dukedom, but the new nobleman carries the guilt of having wronged his late mentor. Now he vows to fulfill his promise to find a suitable match for the man's daughter, Victoria, even if it takes offering a non-existent dowry to spark her interest in matrimony. Sharp-witted Victoria would just as soon sculpt the Greek god who has come to take charge of her future. In fact, she has her sights set on founding a school for women artists. As Jonathan matches wits with the talented beauty, revelations from his past and their connection to her father's demise threaten to unveil both of their closely held secrets and thrust them into a danger they can only escape together. Well, from the way they're standing these two books next to each other, he could be looking at her back. That was purely accident. Destructively Mine by Krista Ritchie and Becca Ritchie. Second in the Webs We Weave series. As the daughter of a con artist, Phoebe Graves only knew a life of swindling the rich until her best friend and fellow grifter Haley Tinrock proposed an idea to start a new honest life in a wealthy college town of Connecticut. Once there, they decided to leave behind their deceitful tricks and be truthful for once. But you know what they say about best intentions. While Phoebe is fake dating Jake Waterford, the third-born son to an uber-wealthy and influential family, she's actually dating and falling deeper in love with Braden Rocky Tinrock, Haley's older brother. To make matters more complicated, Phoebe's mother shows up out of the blue with conniving matchmaking designs of her own. Her mother's arrival threatens to unravel Phoebe's plans. To keep her love, her friends, and her newfound happiness, Phoebe will have to return to her old games and win. End of that row. Situationship by E.M. Wilson. Never let friendship get in the way of a situationship. Tegan knows what she wants and how she's going to get it. She's in her last year of law school, and appearances are important to her family. She doesn't want to let anyone down. But when her parent-approved boyfriend isn't cutting it between the sheets or beyond, she decides to leave him behind right at the start of summer season. And it sucks being single when there are so many weddings and black tie events lined up in her social calendar. That just sucks. Tegan's a fiercely independent woman who knows she doesn't need a man, but people ask so many questions. Enter Heath. They've been in the same friend group forever, and when they set their complicated past behind them, it becomes apparent that they can both get what they want. Heath's handsome, smart, sexy, and knows his way around, but he's not relationship material. Wow. She's a winner. Heath, run. Run, Heath. With him, Tegan doesn't have to be the only single at events. Soon the two sign a contract to define their situation. But when feelings start to get in the way, their deal might be irretrievably broken. We have 6 more and only about 3 minutes, so we're going to start looking at covers and first lines. Gold Coast Dilemma by Nana Malone. A romance about a Ghanaian American heiress faced with the dilemma of choosing between culture and a love connection. Oops, sorry, didn't click on the cover. We'll give it its moments. Davis Bunn, author of Fortunate Harbor, first in an Outer Banks novel. This is for readers of Nicholas Sparks and Karen Kingsbury. The perfect place for second chances, bittersweet love, and a thrilling quest. Doyle by Susan May Warren, third in the Minnesota Kingstons. Bennett. Why does it sound like Bachelor game show? And meet Bennett. Donna Michaels is the author. This is 15th in the HC Heroes series. Grumpy protector meets sassy waitress, and the sparks are hotter than the coffee. An Amish Widow's Promise by Winnie Griggs, second in the Sweetbriar Creek series. One Amish man helps to revive a young widow's struggling orchard and steal her heart. She looks very dreamy. And last one. A Summer to Start Over by Sarah Taino. Taino? She needed help. He needed to begin again. Oh, shoot, it's a Harlequin one. I'm sorry. I try to avoid the Harlequin ones. Well, we had a lot of big dresses ones today. Not a whole lot of shirtless ones, but a lot of guys staring out. So not bad. All right. So tomorrow we look at fantasy and science fiction. And how about that? Perfect timing. Again, I don't have any sprints tonight. Our next sprints are tomorrow night. Tonight I have to go visit my mom at the nursing home. And tomorrow we'll be here at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hope you have a very good Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.